Hi, my name is Albert with Mainland Cycle Center. Today I want to show you the 2014 Kawasaki Z1000. Just introduced from Kawasaki, kind of a late introduction. Really impressed with this motorcycle so far. The Z1000s have always been fun motorcycles. Street fighter, naked bike, muscle bike, whatever you want to call them. It's hard to not say that these are fun motorcycles, because they absolutely are fun motorcycles to ride. Whether you like the styling or don't, they're absolutely a blast. The Z1000 has always done really well critically with reviews and in the magazines and online tests, and this bike is going to just blow everyone away, I think. The styling on it, first off, is I think just incredible. I think it is by far one of the most stunning looking Z1000s we've had yet, and one of the most aggressive and good looking street fighter naked bikes on the market today. I just love the flow of the bodywork. When you see how this flow is here, the swoopiness of the tank to the seat to the tail section to the headlight, just really looks good. Kawasaki really has upped their game with this motorcycle. Aluminum frame, so aluminum chassis. It does have inverted front forks. And when we say inverted front forks, if you look at a lot of motorcycles, the chrome fork tube is clamped up here, and the aluminum part of the tube is in the at the bottom. And this one, you can see, this is what we call an inverted fork. It's quite common. Years ago, this was new and exciting, but it's pretty common now to see inverted front forks. We see it on motocross bikes and a lot of sport bikes, but not everything has it. But this bike does. This has the Showa separate function big piston fork. So separate function big piston fork. See if we can get a look at the top of these. There's springs in both tubes, but if you'll notice when we look at the top of these fork tubes, this is the dampening side. Okay, and then this is your preload, your spring preload. So there's springs in both tubes, but you'll adjust your spring on this side, and you'll adjust your dampening on this side. And what that does is, by not having the spring adjustment mechanism in here, it lets them have that big piston damper in there, which just gives it a larger face for the oil to hit those valves. It just lets them have a higher quality dampening cartridge. So Showa separate function big piston fork on the Z1000. Also new on the Z1000s is that these are now equipped with ABS, anti-lock brake system. So it has ABS. Also, the front brake calipers are new. These are I believe they're made by Tokico. Could be wrong. But they're a 4-piston caliper, and they're a monoblock caliper. So what does that mean? That means that this caliper, this brake caliper, is one piece of aluminum. It's cast and machined out of one piece of aluminum, as opposed to 2 pieces of aluminum bolted together. I have a 2011 ZX10, and if you look at the caliper, on the back of the caliper, you can see the bolts where it's bolted together. So obviously, one piece is going to be stronger than 2 pieces bolted together. I don't think there's any flex in my ZX10 calipers, but anyway, very cool. It's just a more expensive way to make them. It's harder to machine them out of one piece than it is 2 pieces. So monoblock calipers, very cool. Of course, we still have the pedal style rotors, so we have these little cuts in the rotor that allow greater surface area to dissipate heat. Looks cool too. Nice big radiator. This bike is liquid cooled. These are not ram air, but they do have what Kawasaki calls a cold air intake. So they're trying to intake that air where it's cooler air. Cool air makes better horsepower, as many of you already know. So also, it made some changes to the exhaust. It's a brushed finish now. I've never been a big fan of the Z1000 exhaust. I like them. I understand the heritage behind the design, but these really sound good, and I actually think they look great on this bike. If I owned this bike, I would not change the exhaust. I would leave these pipes on it, but that's just me. But really sounds good. There is an exhaust valve in the right-hand pipe that creates some back pressure for better low-end power. There's not an exhaust valve in the left-hand pipe, only on the right-hand side. You do have these cam or eccentric chain adjuster, so this whole piece turns to adjust the chain. Very cool look. there. Your rear brake caliper, pedal style rotor on the back. This has a horizontal, I think they called a backlink rear suspension, fully adjustable rear shock, aluminum swing arm. You know, when I was talking about Kawasaki really is up their game, this bike has a lot of detail in it. The paint is just beautiful. It's just perfect, spot on, very high quality paint on this bike. One of the couple of things I've noticed that are new, the master cylinder reservoir is new, and this is like a clear plastic reservoir. It really looks cool. You can see the brake fluid in there. The mirrors are new. We've never seen these mirrors on a Kawasaki before, and they're painted to match the bike. So again, just a nice touch of class that the mirrors have the paint tied into them. Let's see, what else? Oh, one of the other things I noticed, even the little cable to hold the cable and the wiring going to the handlebars, these little keepers, really nice little designed specifically for this bike with a Kawasaki logo on them, little keepers, as opposed to just having some kind of a tie. You know, the quality on this bike is just really, really high. Even when you look at the seat on it, it has the little Z's made into it. You know, Kawasaki could have put just a regular vinyl on here, but they didn't. They spent the money and had the Z's put on there, and it really looks great. It's a touch of class to this motorcycle, without a doubt. And then what looks like the tail section here, this green, is actually the rear seat. Okay, so this is the rear seat, so you don't need to buy a solo cowl. The bike looks cool just like that, and really, I'm just blown away by a lot of the touches on this bike. It's beautiful. We were talking earlier, me and a couple of guys in the service department, and look at this bike. If you're not a big fan of the green, of course you have the green stripe on the wheels, those could be pulled off, but you really only would have this piece, this piece, this piece, and another piece there, and then the rear seat. If you change the color on those, just those few pieces, you could make this bike gray, the graphite color, and whatever color you wanted. Graphite and red, graphite and blue, graphite and yellow, graphite and pink, purple, you know, obviously your choice of the rainbow there. But would be really easy to do some customizing and change the color on this bike just a little bit if you're not a fan of the green. I think the green is gorgeous. I wouldn't change it, but it would be real easy if green's not your favorite color and blue or red or something is. So anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. Kawasaki made some changes in the intake. The velocity stacks are now all the same size as far as length, and it's supposed to help the better throttle response. Still, these are a 1043cc motor, inline 4-cylinder, the fuel injected, liquid cooled, dual overhead cam, 4 valve per cylinder. You know, just really a fun, muscly bike to ride around town. Around town, this bike is about as much fun as anything out there to ride. We do have this bike serviced, so we'll turn the key on. Handlebar controls, we'll take a look at that. You got a pass light back here, hazard lights, engine kill, start button, pretty standard controls. What we're used to. It is nice to have the hazard light function, and you have the pass light to flash the high beam. But even the key on this bike, Kawasaki stepped it up a notch. So even the key is nicer than what it has to be. Really cool looking, the key on the bike. And alright, so let's turn it on. So you can kind of see the little dance it does there when you turn it on. Now, if you'll notice, the tach right up here starts at 4,000 RPM and then goes up to 11,000. So where's the 1,000 to 3,000? It's actually right here. And so it was there. And I'll push the button. There's your fuel gauge. It's almost like a dial there. Odometer, speedometer there. So so you got trip meter A, trip meter B. You got miles per gallon. And this bike has just been driven maybe around the parking lot. Average miles per gallon. Your estimated fuel range. Your coolant temperature, and back to your clock, and then back to your odometer. So some good stuff, but just basic stuff. And then you've got check engine light. ABS light will go out once the bike is driven just a few feet. Neutral light, high beam indicator, turn signal indicators. Alright, so let's push the button and we'll crank it up and take a look at that tachometer. to see how once it gets to here, then it takes off to here. I don't want to rev it up a whole lot. This bike is brand new, and but definitely really cool. I dig it. See if we can get a little sound of that exhaust. The exhaust has a great sound to it. And part of what you're hearing with this bike, Kawasaki did a lot of things so that you could hear the intake noise. This has the cold air intake I was telling you about, but they added some other intakes on there, some other areas for it to intake the ambient air. And part of the reason they did that was to open it up so you could hear that intake growl on this bike. So when you ride this bike, you open that throttle, you're going to hear that air and stuff going in there, and it's really going to give you almost that muscle car experience when you ride this bike. Meaning a 60s muscle car is not the smoothest, quietest thing to drive, but it's a lot of fun because you can hear it and feel it, and that's part of what Kawasaki wanted to do here. But I'm really just digging this motorcycle. Like I said, I think it is just absolutely gorgeous. I think Kawasaki did a great job. The quality is extremely high, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful motorcycle. And anyway, I'm thrilled to show it to you. I'm sure I left something out. I'm sure there's something more I could have said about this bike, but it looks like we're about almost 12 minutes in, so I think that's plenty. But so anyway, there it is, the 2014 Kawasaki Z1000. We are Mainland Cycle Center. We're located in Lamarck, Texas. We're about 30 minutes south of downtown Houston, just off of I-45. You can find us online at mainlandcyclecenter.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, of course, and give us a call at 409-948-4969, and we just love it. If you'd shoot us an email, give us a call, or even better, come by and see us in person here at Mainland Cycle Center, where we'd love to help just any way that we can. Hey, thanks for watching.